New legends coming to MLB the Show 21. What are some that we can expect to see? This time last year, I made a video exactly like this one, predicting which legends would be in MLB the Show 20. And I actually got a lot of my predictions right. Now, if you want to watch that video in full, there's a link right here that you can click into and watch that, fact check me, do what you got to do. But I was going to give you a quick breakdown really quick of what I predicted and what actually happened. My first prediction last year was Craig Biggio, and lo and behold, there he was. He showed up in MLB the Show 20. Alongside him, I was guessing Mariano Rivera and of course David Ortiz, which we got both of. I also guessed Mickey Mantle correctly. I guessed Jimmy Rollins correctly. John Franco was another prediction that I got right. Todd Helton, and of course Larry Walker. So I feel like it would be a lot of fun to do it again this time of year and see if I can get a similar score sheet just like that one. This time around, I want to add a little more depth to the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a list of players that I expect to see in the game, and then another list of players that I want to see in the game, but they probably won't be in the game. Now, before we go any further, make sure you slap a like down below on the video. It's a great way to show your support, and it's a great tool for me to see that you guys are enjoying this type of content. And subscribe to the channel. If you love MLB The Show, this is the place for you. You don't want to miss a beat. Subscribe so you're notified when my new content goes live. We are going to kickstart it off with legends that I expect to see in the game, realistic possibilities. We've made big strides this year on the middle infield, but we do need more help at the second base position. And coming in at number 10 on my list, carrying over from last year's list, is Jeff Kent of the San Francisco Giants. I mean, what more can you say about Jeff Kent? He outplayed Barry Bonds to win an MVP award. He's a 5-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. You're obviously not going to see the best fielding out of him, but at second base, and he also played corner infield positions as well. So I would imagine you can shift him around need be with his lesser defense. I think that would just be a really fun card to use. A very big bat for a middle infielder primarily would be a great addition to MLB The Show 21. Coming in at number 9 on my list is Brad Lidge of the Houston Astros and, well, the Philadelphia Phillies. He had some great years for both of those teams. He won the Rolaids Relief Award. He's a 2-time All-Star, and of course, who can forget his performance in the 2008 World Series with the Philadelphia Phillies. Another top shelf bullpen piece that we can lean on and combine with the likes of Billy Wagner, Mariano Rivera, Goose Gossage, Trevor Hoffman. Now, I'm not by any means comparing him in terms of career success to those other relievers because, frankly, he doesn't touch them. I just think with how this game plays in MLB The Show, Brad Lidge would play wonderfully alongside those guys in a video game. Coming in at number 8 on my list, number 8 for the Boston Red Sox, left fielder, Hall of Famer, Carl Yastrzemski, Triple Crown Award winner, 18-time All-Star, 3-time batting title winner, MVP. The list goes on and on for Carl Yastrzemski. With the waves that Mike Yastrzemski has made for the San Francisco Giants in the last couple years, it would not surprise me one bit for them to go out, get the rights to Carl Yastrzemski so you can put both of those guys in the same outfield. I think that would be just awesome. Coming in at number 7 on my list, another outfielder for the Boston Red Sox, and I know you guys have heard this from other MLB The Show content creators. It's going to be Manny Ramirez. Now, I don't think that you can add David Ortiz one year and then go into the next year without adding the likes of Manny Ramirez. I feel like that's just an iconic duo through the Boston Red Sox franchise, not to mention Manny Ramirez being a 12-time All-Star, a 2-time World Series champion with a World Series MVP trophy under his belt, and a 9-time Silver Slugger. He had a 19-year career, so you know there are a lot of options in terms of variations of what cards we can expect to see for Manny Ramirez. I really do think they're going to add him this year in MLB The Show 21. Coming in at number 6 on my list, the home run king, outfielder for the Atlanta Braves, Hank Aaron. Now, at the time of this recording, it is actually the exact same day that we learned about the passing of Hank Aaron. May he rest in peace and in power, and of course, condolences to his family and loved ones. Hank Aaron, of course, a Hall of Famer, a 25-time All-Star, an MVP award winner, a 3-time Gold Glove winner. He was incredible. And I see them adding Hank Aaron to the game because they are unable to add Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds withdrew himself from the MLB Players Association, which makes it illegal for development studios such as San Diego Studios to use his likeness. Now, I bring that up because of the controversy behind Barry Bonds and how people compare him to Hank Aaron and how There are some that think Hank Aaron is the true home run king, while others would disagree and say that Barry Bonds is. Now, they can't in any way, shape, or form add Barry Bonds to the game without jumping through a bunch of unrealistic hoops. But I would imagine that adding the likes of Hank Aaron would be a lot easier in comparison. If you can't add one home run king, I think after all these years of people asking for Barry Bonds, I think they're going to give us the next best thing in comparison. I'm not saying that Barry Bonds is better than Hank Aaron. That's a whole nother topic. I'm just saying in terms of comparing these players on a video game scale, I think they want to give us the next best thing, something that is a bit more obtainable through the likes of Hank Aaron. Coming in at number 5 on my list is going to be one of the best catchers in baseball history, Yogi Berra. Now, we've seen Yogi Berra in previous versions of MLB The Show, but somewhere along the lines, he just kind of fell off the radar. Let people put Yogi Berra, Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle on the same squad along other all-time Yankee greats. And at the catcher position, again, it makes perfect sense. I think that we're going to see Yogi Berra back in full action in MLB The Show 21. Next up on my list is going to be Johan Santana. Johan Santana was so much fun to watch back in the day. A 2-time Cy Young Award winner. He won a Triple Crown Award, a 4-time All-Star, a Gold Glover, multiple ERA titles. The dude was incredible. As you can see, in 2000 and in 2001, they were kind of rough. High ERA, high whip, not the best strikeout numbers. Had a 6.7 K per 9 in 2000, a 5.8 K per 9 in 2001, and then he started to click. He had a career high 11.4 K per 9 in 2002, over 100 innings pitched, an ERA under 3, a whip at 1.2, and then you see this stretch between 2004 and 2006 with the Twins, where he had a whip under 1 and an ERA consistently under 2.9 with a ton of innings, over 200 innings in all of those years, with over 230 strikeouts in all of those years as well. Just insane numbers. He was just a force to be reckoned with in his prime, and I think that would carry over really well in MLB The Show 21. Coming in at number 4 on my list, Pedro Martinez. Now, all of his accomplishments aside, Pedro Martinez was just a pure joy to watch. This dude was electric. Hall of Fame pitcher, 3-time Cy Young Award winner, Triple Crown winner, 8-time All-Star, 2004 World Series champion, Pedro Martinez. He was on my list last year, unfortunately was not added in MLB The Show 20, but I really do think that we're going to see him in MLB The Show 21, and here's why. I feel like over the last year or two, we've seen a trend of players who are now MLB Network analysts, and we're seeing those guys added to the game. And who do we see somewhat semi-regularly on MLB Network? Pedro Martinez. Which brings me into the next person on the list, Mark DeRosa. He's an MLB Network analyst. He played with a lot of different teams, had a lot of really good years. There's a lot of different cards that we could see from Mark DeRosa, and the same goes for Carlos Pena. I didn't put Carlos Pena on this list, but might as well throw him in because I put these are not in any particular order. I just put these guys on a list. It's not like I think that Mark DeRosa is better than other guys that have mentioned on this list, like Yogi Berra. That's just absurd. I just threw these guys on a list. I'm not going in any particular order. So before you start losing your head over that, I'm just reading names off. That's it. But Pedro Martinez comes into the next spot, and then Mark DeRosa. I don't even have Carlos Pena, as I mentioned, on this list, but that's another guy I could see added to MLB The Show 21 simply because of the ties that San Diego Studios has with MLB Network. But you guys let me know what you think about that theory down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. Now, the last prediction on my list is going to be third baseman for the New York Mets, David Wright. Now, right out of the gate for David Wright, he was a very consistent hitter. At the young age of 21, this dude put in almost 300 plate appearances and only struck out 40 times, finishing with a batting average at 293 and OPS at 857. And he slugged over 500. That was great for his first year in the major leagues as a young kid. And then for the next 4 years after that, he had an OPS over 900. His lowest home run totals in that 4-year span was 26. And in every year, he had over 100 RBIs. And then that's kind of when you saw the, the injuries coming in, going out with David Wright. It was really unfortunate to see because he was, like many of these other players that I mentioned, a pure joy to watch. And he's just a class act. You just want to see those guys succeed. But I do think with how big of an impact David Wright made on the game that we will see him in MLB The Show 21. Now, those are the players that I think we are going to realistically see added to MLB The Show 21, but you let me know down in the comments section below, who do you think that we see added into the game? Not people that you want to see, but realistically, who do you think they're going to add? That's what this list was based off of, in my opinion, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it personally. Now that we got that list out of the way, we're going to be jumping into the wish list, players that I would love to see in the game, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to be added this year. And stay tuned towards the end of this video because there are going to be some honorary mentions regarding the list that I just provided. But kicking off the wish list, coming in at number 10, the all-time hits leader, Pete Rose. Who wouldn't want to see a guy like Pete Rose, a switch hitter? He would have incredible contact numbers. The power would be good enough. Great vision, great speed, great fielding. He would be the whole package, but I don't think we're going to see him added anytime soon, simply because it's too controversial. Coming in at number 9, Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay had a fantastic career, and of course, it would be awesome as baseball fans to have them in the game. But I think that if we were to do that, it would be wildly inconsiderate of what their loved ones are currently going through. It's just too soon. I cannot imagine what they would be going through seeing their loved one who recently passed essentially brought back to life in the form of a video game. I cannot even imagine what they would go through, how they would process that, what they would initially think of it. I just don't think that's realistic, and I don't think that's respectful. And I swear, if I see a comment that compares getting the rights to Fernandez and Halladay and comparing that to Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, there's really no correlation between those players. I think they're vastly different, but you're entitled to your opinion. I just don't think it would be respectful to those who lost them. Let's move on to the next player on my list. That's going to be Roberto Clemente. Now, in my mind, I would imagine that SDS would have to pick between the likes of Roberto Clemente and Hank Aaron. That's why I see Clemente on my wish list as opposed to my list of players that could realistically be added. It's not to say that he couldn't realistically be added. I personally think they would have to choose between one or the other. And with how many people we see asking for the likes of Barry Bonds, and with SDS not being able to accommodate those requests, I think they would go with the other home run king, Hank Aaron, over the likes of Roberto Clemente. Now, I could be wrong in assuming that. We could very well see both Clemente and Hank Aaron added to the game. I just don't know. I would assume, with all things considered in this last year, I don't know what their financials look like. I don't know what anything looks like with the whole COVID thing. I just feel like they have to add someone, and again, adding someone, a home run king, in some way that they can't accommodate through the form of Barry Bonds. I think Hank Aaron just makes so much sense. I don't see Roberto Clemente. Obviously, as a baseball fan, I love Roberto Clemente, would be a great add, but to a casual player or someone who's picking up the game for the first time, they're going to look at Roberto Clemente and not necessarily know who that is. As opposed to Hank Aaron, I feel like generally people would know that he's a home run king. So again, I could be wrong. We could see Clemente over Hank Aaron, or they could surprise us with both, but Roberto Clemente comes in on my wish list. Next up on my wish list of players that I want to see in the game but don't think they're necessarily going to make it is going to be Roger Clemens. The Rocket was truly one of the best pitchers of all time. It would be awesome to have him in MLB The Show, but I think that adding Roger Clemens, he's just so controversial, and I don't think that SDS likes to add players who have any form of controversy to him. I feel like the only exception would be the likes of Barry Bonds, just because of how big of a name that is. But because of the whole Players Association thing, obviously Barry Bonds will not be added to any baseball video game in the foreseeable future. But again, the controversy behind Roger Clemens is what I think will keep him out of MLB The Show for the foreseeable future as well. Next up on my wish list, my favorite baseball player of all time as a San Francisco Giants fan, a player that I idolized growing up, Tim Lincecum. I would love to see him added back to the game. I would love to see them recapture his pitching windup, because the one that we have in the game now, and even the one that we had back when he was playing, is just bad. It's not a good motion capture. But he's not going to be added to the game because, frankly, no one knows where he is. And I imagine even if they did know where he was, I don't think he would agree to having his rights in the game, just because that's the type of person that he is. As much as that crushes me, as much as I love him, like, I get it. I respect him as a person too. Like, it is what it is. It sucks. as a fan, as a person who idolized this man, it sucks, but like I totally get it. I just, you know, wish that we could find him and get him in the game somehow, some way. That'd be dope. Next up on my wish list is gonna be Derek Jeter. Now, I don't think he's going to be in MLB The Show 21 because I think if he were going to be in the new game, I feel like he would be the cover guy, and I feel like we would already know that by now. But since we don't know who's on the cover, we don't know virtually anything about the show, and because I just don't think that Derek Jeter is obtainable simply because of the money. Derek Jeter, for multiple generations, is the face of baseball. That is something that a lot of kids see, even kids that are half my age, they know who Derek Jeter is. He's an icon. Because of how well known he is, it would naturally take a lot of money, and Derek Jeter is smart. He knows that. Next up on my list is Alex Rodriguez, another Yankee on the left side of the infield. And of course, there are different variations in the form of the Mariners and the Rangers. He would be one of the best players in MLB The Show. He was one of the best players in MLB The Show, and it would be awesome to have him back. But again, it comes down to money, and I think Alex Rodriguez knows that. But again, there's also that possibility that Alex Rodriguez, naturally being competitive with Derek Jeter, maybe he would find an angle to get back into the MLB The Show before Derek Jeter and kind of beat him to the punch in some way. I don't know how he works, but it would be awesome to see it. I just don't think he would be added again because of money, and there's some controversy behind him as well. The last player on my wish list that I would love to see, but again, there's just no way we're going to see him in the foreseeable future, a player that I've mentioned periodically through the course of this video, is Barry Bonds. In my humble opinion, the best hitter that we have ever seen. Barry Bonds withdrew himself from the MLB Players Association, and in light of that, legally, no one can use his likeness in the form of a video game. They would have to come up with their own individual deal, and with Barry Bonds, he knows who he is, obviously. We know who he is. It's just not realistic in any way. I don't think we are going to see Barry Bonds in MLB The Show for years, if at all. But man, can you imagine how awesome that would be to have Barry Bonds? That would just be sick, bro. I would cry. I would literally cry if I saw Barry Bonds and I could put him in the same outfield as Willie Mays and Ken Griffey Jr. or even Hank Aaron. I mean, that would just be, bro, I'd lose my mind. I would lose it, dude. But that is going to wrap things up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like down below for me. And again, subscribe on your way out so you're notified when my new content goes live. Let me know down in the comment section as well. What are some legends that you want to see added to the game? Who are some legends that you would love to see in the game, but similar to my list, just don't see it happening? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Let's start a conversation. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. And now it is time for the honorary mentions. Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, Chris Carpenter, Dontrell Willis, Dan Ugla, Edgar Renteria, Hideki Matsui, David Wells, Jason Bay, Joe Mauer, David Eckstein, Jose Reyes, Chase Utley, Miguel Tejada, Ichiro Suzuki, Alfonso Soriano, CC Sabathia, Ben Sheets, Bobby Abreu, Mike Musina, and Brad Osmus. Let me know down in the comment section below what are some new legends that you would love to see added in MLB The Show 21.